Welcome everybody to another Saturday sweep series. Wall Street Jesus here. I appreciate everybody coming out, spending Saturday mid-morning with everybody in here. And today we'll spend most of the time talking about some of the stuff on your mind, whether it's particular specific names you guys are interested in that you may have seen or had me mention action in. Also, we'll talk a little bit about the overall market, strategies. We'll try to cover a lot of things today and mostly take a lot of your questions. Uh, what we've been doing for the most part up till now, we kind of try to mix in some strategy talk, specific ways I utilize the flow and have witnessed other traders around me successfully utilize the flow. So today we're not going to spend too much time on that. Just initially here for anybody who's new. And by the way, all these webinars are recorded, all of them. So you can go back and if you missed a weekend, you could go back and check it out. But just to start off, basically it's a unique strategy that I've used over the years. I've been in the game a long time now. I've tried a lot of different things, and I'm not going to say everything was a losing proposition. I've had my success, but the trouble for me was trying to keep myself disciplined, and I knew that was the hurdle for me to get over to find consistency. And flow for me really, as I like to say, put the seatbelt on me. Guiding me when I should get aggressive in the market, when maybe I should lean back and sit back and cash and wait for a setup, wait for an opportunity, because that was one of my biggest problems, is waiting for the setup that I knew was my bread and butter. You know what I mean? So that's, I think, the best thing that paying attention and utilizing the Wise Guy Flow strategy has done for me. A lot of traders I know use it as confirmation, as a powerful real-time indicator. In other words, I know a lot of traders that they have high confidence in other things. Some of the things that I may have looked at throughout my career, there's other traders that can do it well. Not every trader is the same. And the flow has been that little edge to help them find the consistency that they were looking for. And I speak about that a lot because I think it's where everybody should start if they have that luxury. Okay, if you've been trading for a decent amount of time now and you know the game and you understand the things you need to do to find success, that's where I think Wise Guy activity and the flow can have the quickest impact on a trader. Okay, and again, I use examples because sometimes I can't get the point across. I know a couple of traders I work with. One guy uses Elliott waves. Many in the room use Fibonacci levels. Another one's just a straight up technician. And they utilize the Wise Guy activity in a sense where it gives them that extra confidence. Okay, it's just like anybody would use a MACD or stochastics or an RSI, but in my opinion, this is far more powerful. Okay, again, it's in real time. We're seeing the reaction and what it can do for you right in front of your eyes. And like I said, for example, Fibonacci, and a lot of you people look at that, okay? And I'm being honest. I know the basics, okay, but I don't follow it closely enough. But I know when names reach certain levels, okay, that a lot of money is looking at, Fibonacci traders feel that there is a high confidence setup there for a potential bounce or some sort, in that variety. And if you happen to see the professionals aggressively positioning around that level, that will only give you more confidence in that trade, right? Increase the probability of you being successful on that trade. And one thing I've realized, and the longer in this game you're going to understand, it's not about always being right, okay, or being right as much as possible. It's a form of gambling, the market. Let's be honest. It's just the biggest casino out there, okay? And in gambling, if you can line up just the smallest amount of odds in your favor that weren't there to begin with, that's the definition of a professional gambler. And I grew up around a lot of gamblers in my day, and that's what got me sort of interested in the market. That's a whole other story. But I grew up with a lot of degenerate gamblers, like my friends, who would go to the blackjack table half drunk and lose all their money and never had a shot, even before they got started. But my father knew many people who were professional gamblers. They never worked a day in their life. God's honest truth. Okay, they would wake up every day in the morning, and they never went into a 9-to-5 job. They didn't start a business. They gambled for a living. Okay, so it can be done. As much as you hear, even in regards to the market, in gambling as well, it can be done. But there are certain things you need to do to just bump the odds a little bit in your favor and help you win more than you lose consistently over time. And that's where you could be successful in both gambling and the market. It's not about the one stock or the one play or the one large call buyer that should be a lock. When you get wrapped up into the individual name or the individual order, that's where you get into trouble, because anything can go down. Anything can happen. That's the beauty of this game. But like I said, the definition of an edge for me is just finding something that keeps you disciplined, that allows you to do the things you need to do to make money consistently over time, and just increases the odds a little bit in your favor. Okay, and that's where, I'm being honest, that's where I think wise guy activity, when used correctly and incorporated into your style, because it's important emotionally for you to feel comfortable with how you trade, I think it could be a huge asset. But if you're going to be that hot shot trader who just wants to come in and set a scan on big buyers and roll the dice thinking not any of them are going to go down, eventually you're going to get hit over the head and knocked out of the game. So that's what I've done over the years. I've utilized this. Me personally, I've done everything. I traded positions. I was a broker, so I traded positions for clients, for myself, swing trading, and now I'm focused solely on day trading for several years now, because that's what I have done best. I'm most disciplined when I do that. So again, it's about how you feel comfortable. All right, so that's what we do, and that's the product we have. You can see on your screen basically a little introduction to what we offer and the things we look at, and you can see on that monitor there. I could pull up the room, it'd probably be a lot easier, but you can see the video and audio, which is a huge addition to the room now too. I'm on audio from basically around 8:30 to the closing bell, and giving live commentary about what I'm seeing in regards to flow. So not only are you getting the alerts, the sector heat map, also audio, the commentary, and video, the charts, and I can explain what reaction the name should get off of. If it's an order tied more for swing trading purposes, I'll mention that. But that's the basics of what we do. All right, so I just wanted to get that out there for some of the people who aren't aware of the actual product and the style. Okay, and just to get out of the way, I'll hit on it later just in case anybody shows up late. There's a couple things. One, again, the free community, you guys should all be in there. There's no reason not to. No credit card, no obligation, nothing like that. You go to wallstreetjesus.com, you click on this tab right here, Market Updates. Okay, and it'll allow you to get access to basically this right here. Okay, so you're going to have access to this room. This is all commentary that I post pre-market, post-market mostly. I really don't have the time to post anything during market hours. From time to time, once in a while, I will. But a lot of pre and post-market stuff, notable open interest changes. I recap some of the noteworthy activity at the end of the day. Sentiment, which plays a huge part in all of this. You've heard me talk about that time and time again. So a lot of stuff for free in our community here. And the reason why I did this, you know, unlike on Twitter where you get just any riffraff who don't really even appreciate the information we're sharing, I figured we'd build a community here. It's free. And, you know, a lot of times, too, you have access to the pre-market strategy session where we go over some open interest in what we're looking at, you know, through the market session. And I'm going to try, I keep saying it, but I'm going to try to hop on more even post-market, maybe on the weekends. So, you know, we could just talk some shop and go over things. All right, so that's free. You get at wallstreetjesus.com. I'm going to put the link in there anyway. And that's the market update section. So that's the first thing here. What we do is we offer a promotion during the Saturday series, the Saturday sweep series. The promotion for this go around has been you get 50% off the first month. If you want to have access to the Steam Room, you get everything. You get the public lounge, all the free stuff. You get access to private Twitter as well, all the webinars, live audio, video, etc. Okay, and if I'm not mistaken, I don't have the coupon here, but I'm almost positive. I'll shoot it out to you guys. They're offering another promotion where the Wise Guys Revealed is an actual video course where I go over some of the basics and some of the stuff that I keep an eye on, checklist, a lot of stuff Lucci threw in there as far as trading is concerned and strategy and psychology. And you can buy that, and basically I think what they have is you get $100 off of that and you get access to the Steam Room for a month. Again, I'm going to put the link in there and you'll get it all described on the link as well. All right, but you can get all this information on wallstreetjesus.com. That's the easiest thing, so you could do your due diligence. But like I said, I expect to see all of you in the free lounge area. I see a lot of you already who I know are in there. I appreciate that. But everybody should be in there. All right, so let's talk some market now. Well, we got that stuff out of the way. And what chart's probably the best visible on here? Maybe if I do this. All right, and basically what I want to do is focus on some actual names or even some market stuff, take a decent amount of questions. Let me just give a quick recap on some of the action we've seen maybe Friday, some of the more noteworthy action through the week. There was one name in particular that basically just is the epitome, I mean a blueprint situation to how we have an edge off Wise Guy activity, whether you're a swing trader or a day trader. We'll touch on that quickly and then I'll take some names for you. But in regards to the market, the best thing about what's going on right now is that earnings is coming to an end. Okay, even though earnings have been solid, and even though, even more importantly, it has been one of the good earnings seasons in which, I mean good, the description of good means that you could take advantage of some solid activity, Wise Guy activity coming into a name, and you had the opportunity to navigate around earnings. Okay, those of you who know me know earnings is a no-no in my book. Okay, you can't control your risk. It's a total crapshoot. The odds of smart money hedging, replacing equity positions, goes up dramatically during earnings season. So there's a lot of things that add a mess. I mean, I can talk about earnings season one whole webinar, all right? But the good thing about this earnings season, and it doesn't happen always, is that some of the stronger activity, okay, that came into specific names, and you had a decent amount of time to navigate around earnings, meaning you could have took a position, earnings were in 2 weeks, you try to make some money over that 2-week swing, and if you had the luxury, maybe leave a runner into earnings if you chose to do so, try to hit the home run. You know, if it went to crap, you couldn't care less because you locked in and took off a lot of risk pre-number. But there has been a lot of that. And we usually aren't fortunate enough to have that. And there's just so many names. JD was one, okay? I love the activity in JD. It was aggressive. They came in, you could see this boxed area here. All right, so they started coming into JD initially into the shaded area here, okay, through this consolidation. Now, if I would have seen one block buyer or even just one sweep in JD during earnings season, that wouldn't get me that excited, okay? But what we saw throughout this little consolidation in JD, they hit it hard the first day, they came back, they hit it again. Any weakness, they came aggressively and swept even more call side. Okay, so they bombarded JD calls throughout this consolidation. All right, and like I said, it offered the opportunity. You said to yourself, all right, JD has earnings 2 weeks out. You know, I'm not going to go crazy here. I'm going to put on a position. I like the setup based off the aggressive activity, and it is aggressive. It's worth it. And you had this push higher pre-numbers, and then you could see it gapped up. So this was more than enough worthy of a trade, and then you leave a runner or leave, you know, whatever piece you feel comfortable knowing that if earnings are garbage, this thing could get destroyed and there will be nothing left in those calls. And, you know, everything after that is gravy. And you can see this stock is still going post-earnings and still seeing some buying, a lot of rolling up, rolling out, but the activity's still been strong there. All right, the Visa was another name. Same exact thing. They were buying this whole consolidation, and then you had a nice little lift here. That was tradable. You take some risk off, roll up, roll out the little calls you have left. And what's interesting about the Visa, it's consolidated off earnings as well. And Friday, there was more buying coming into Visa again. All right, but there was nothing better than that initial entry in this consolidation. That's why I love when they get aggressive into weakness or consolidation, because that's the best entry possible. You know, when Visa's catching call buying up here after a move like this, it doesn't do much for me. You know, I want to see the pros aggressively buying these names when nobody's really paying attention, interested. You know, when no one's really excited, Visa's not doing much. You know, you get the word chop thrown out there a lot, a term retail uses constantly. That's where I want to see the activity stem up. Again, I'm not talking about just one buyer. You know what I mean? I'm talking about that aggressive behavior where they continue to come and show us that emotion that they don't have enough of this thing. You know, the cruise lines have been animals. They pulled back recently. These cruise lines, they bought them on dips. This one in particular, NCLH, which is Norwegian, they nailed the exact low here in this Norwegian cruise line. You know, I think this had, I don't know if they came out with earnings. They may have earnings still left, but, you know, more than enough tradable move. And then you had all the big names that you guys love. You know, Baba, literally catches call sweepers every day, and they still haven't reported. And they still haven't reported. So the action's been solid. I would say more selective, and now it's starting to broaden out a bit. But initially, while this market was consolidating, it was more selective. You had the JD, you had the Visa, a lot of like mid-tier names like an IAC. Same exact thing here, by the way. This was an enormous winner. You heard me probably mention this name. They bought it. There was a shakeout the following day, right after the second day after they bought it. They bought triple the amount that day. And then, like I said, more than enough of a trade before they reported numbers. Yeah, so a lot of these mid-tier names. One recent, you guys might have heard me mention this in one of the webinars prior here. It might have been last week. This GIMO, okay? This thing off a pullback was post-earnings, so you're not going to get better than that. They come in and they open up the largest position of open interest. I mean, they bought this thing like they were giving something away. And then all of a sudden, we get news Elliott Management took a stake, and you get this reaction here. So, like I said, selective. Some of the names have been under the radar, but I think we've been more focused on under the radar names because how much, call buying an Apple, what does it do for us? I feel like we don't have an edge anymore in Apple. Everybody's buying it. So that's why you won't hear me mention these names as much. Now, I was all gung-ho Apple back earlier in the year, and I showed you guys this. The box there is where the initial steam took place in Apple, okay? And what I mean by that, call buying dried up for the most part, okay? They weren't being aggressive, very small as far as size is concerned in buying Apple. You had this pullback, okay? And then this right here is where they really started to come after Apple, that box. So back then, you probably heard me on Twitter. I mentioned Apple a gazillion times, the amount of buying. And, now we're still seeing call buying in Apple. I told you guys this last week. I mean, it's nonstop. But it's almost like, what is it telling us? The whole world is buying calls in Apple. So, and there's been action in like a Tesla. We've seen action for a while. That started off this little consolidation here, where it pulled back sideways. We saw a deep in the money call buyer there, and this thing has exploded. The Netflix, Amazon recently, I think it was this dip? Well, it was one of these days. Caught another buyer, August, I think 1100. That's at new highs. They swept July calls as well. So there's been a lot of opportunities. And again, if you stick to my thesis of buying and focusing on activity off weakness or some consolidation, rather than chasing the green when everybody wants it, this market's been great. I think where traders have an issue sometimes, especially in the options game, they'll buy this looking for a breakout in Amazon. We went over this last week on the webinar. And then you get caught in this. Now, if you're looking to stop yourself out, or just even emotionally, you don't want to see your calls go to zero, especially in these big names where you have to lay some decent premium. I mean, you're going to get shaken out, and then you're going to be sick to your stomach when this thing's at new highs. So you have to refrain from chasing this. Even if you see sweeper activity come into it, wait. If you get something like this, that's when you look to buy. If you don't, there's so many damn stocks out there. What's the big deal? We've seen it in Netflix. Same exact thing. People were worried that Netflix was going to run away. I think it was this here. There wasn't even much sweeper activity in Netflix. And I heard a lot of people, saying, oh, there's no sweepers in Netflix. This thing's breaking out. It's going to run away. And then, this happens. So I'm really fascinated how quick the sentiment changes. The market in general and in stocks is just incredible. Everybody was bullish, okay? And if they weren't bullish in this, they were bullish on this day in particular, right? New highs coming. So what happens? They sell this thing off. I think there was some news there. I don't even pay attention to it. So I was focused, and a lot of people in the room were focused on seeing if there was any wise guy call buying to come into this weakness, because that would set up a solid opportunity. Okay, you have a lot of retail traders talking short Netflix. I was seeing it right in front of my face with people in the steam room talking short Netflix. Okay, and then all of a sudden, an August call buyer pops up. I think it was $1 million call buyer, by the way, into the weakness. And you could just sense from traders, they don't feel confident. Why? Because it's selling. And as a matter of fact, it was still selling, even in the face of that call buyer. But eventually, Netflix bottomed out, and now look at it now. So waiting for this is worth it. There's a lot of good things that come in buying off weakness. We went over it. If you're an options player, one, you're getting robbed when the whole world is looking to get long Netflix on a potential breakout up to, okay? Or when so many eyeballs are on it. People are getting shaken out of their calls. They're giving things away when you get this little pullback. And even by accident, a lot of times, especially when the flow is there, guys, because the flow is there to support these names, worst case scenario, you get even a small squeeze to take some risk off into. So even if you're a little bit early and, the stock continues to sell some more bit after you initialize a position, in the following days, you always get this little squeeze here that is worthy of a trade in itself. Again, if there's flow. Okay, so, I try to stress that to a lot of members. You should welcome weakness, especially in a market like this. Welcome weakness. Chasing is where you can get into trouble because you're worried about that big correction. You're worried about that big drop. And any little rollover in the market or stock, people are thinking the end's coming. You had NVIDIA, right? I mean, look what happened to NVIDIA. It came down into a base. People were shorting the name into earnings. I mean, the most bizarre things you'll ever see. And boom, you get a squeeze. Now everybody's in love with NVIDIA again. So you got to welcome weakness. That's one thing, guys. If you take any advice from me, that has been the most important thing I've learned throughout my career, especially. And I mostly trade equity now. But if I was trading options, day trading, and those of you who know me, just for day trading purposes, I hate buying green. And I'm stopping myself out and out at the end of the day no matter what. And I still have trouble buying green. But let's take a look at some of the activity, and then I'll get to some of the names you guys are interested in. And this is something else I'll post from time to time in the free room here. Here's the top action of Friday. All right, so you had Visa. That was the top bet, I think, on the day, but you had other bets around it. And we spoke a little bit about Visa. Also, as far as day trading these things, Friday was one of my better days. There was a lot of movement, even though the market wasn't doing the thing. A lot of movement off wise guy activity. I did not trade the Visa on Friday. It's not the best name to day trade, very choppy, but was a nice grinder throughout the day. That came early, first thing in the morning in Visa, the initial activity there. We spoke about Visa a little bit. Snap was such a great trade. What happened in Snap, there was wise guy put sellers into the Snap weakness off earnings, okay, on Thursday. So Friday, I think it opened up a little bit higher, flattened out through most of the day. You could see pretty much just chopping around, no big move. And then we saw this 10,000 May 18 puts hit the bid for a quarter. And what is this? Oh no, this was just attached to it. You had 1,000 May 18 puts and May 18 and a half puts sold. And then right after that, you had some call sweeper activity come right into the name. Let's see if we could find it on this snap here. Yeah, you can see here, right on your screen, 1336. So that's when the call sweepers followed the put sellers in Snap. And that's when this thing really started to get hot. You can see the move it made. I traded it. I didn't catch this whole move. That's the story of my life, but it was a nice trade on that Snap. What else did we have? SNY, this is repeat call buying. Santa Fe Aventus. Let me show you guys. And this is another great tool. More to know and go back and look at trades that and names that they were aggressive on. This search function, gives you an idea of where the action started to heat up. You can go back and look, check the dates, the reference price, what price the stock was when the action was getting hot. And this SNY, they've been hitting for a bit here. You could see all of April, that's where the flow started to turn here. Okay, and they've been buying nonstop since. And you had some repeat activity again to end the week. Let me move this out of the way. So you can see they were buying it the whole month of April. Started to break out. They actually even bought Thursday into the weakness. So again, if you're looking for just a trade, you don't want to chase any of these green bars in SNY. You're looking for a pullback. You see a pullback. You see them come in to buy more. That tells you it's still in play and it's worthy of a trade. Okay, I'm not saying buy this and hold for another leg higher of this sort, but just a simple trade. You could look to buy weakness here and take some risk off, leave a runner, raise a stop. If you're in equity, it allows you to do so many things when you buy weakness. All right, so this has been a name they've been hot on. You guys might want to keep an eye on VIPS SNY. What else did we see that I traded? COP caught some put action. As most of you are aware, I don't trade any put action. I'm not going to say I don't pay attention to it. I pay attention to it for sentiment purposes. But as far as in individual names, especially just one day or one order of put buying, I really don't put too much into it. Just because we're in a bull market and smart money will protect in bull markets. That's what they do. So a lot of these puts will go up in smoke, probably 95% of them. So that's the reason I don't pay attention to it. But there was a significant order in COP June 47 puts, a couple other energy names as well. WSM was another name I traded. That's Williams Sonoma, retail name. Yeah, I don't know if I'm crazy about it for a swing, but it was into weakness. There was repetitive buying. In other words, it wasn't just one buyer. They hit it up a couple times. You could see the candle there. Nice comeback. And this was a nice day trade too. You could see, I think it started here. There were several times they bought this thing, but, oh, here it is. You can't miss it. You can see here the volume spike as well. And then there were buyers that trickled in throughout this. So again, for a day trade, that's exactly what I'm looking for, especially, as I mentioned, like a broken record, into weakness. AMLP, that's the an MLP play. There was size buying there in this thing. It's an ETF, so yeah, take it with a grain of salt. But I mean, some big time Jan call buying, Jan 13 calls, opening activity. You can see two big blocks, 27.5 and 10 there. All right, and where is it? Oh, PE was another name. Now they went a little further out here. It's an energy name. I know a lot of us aren't too crazy about these energy names because the price of crude is going to make a big dent on these things, no matter how good the activity may look. But the reason this action caught my eye, there was a December sweeper, a pretty nice size one too. Okay, so you got some time there, and also a decent sized September buyer. So 2 orders. You can keep an eye on this name, similar to like some of the other stuff. If they come back in and add to it, if the stock is just drifting or sitting around here, it tells you that they're looking to take advantage of this thing not taking off yet. So like I mentioned in the Visa, the JD, it would only be a stronger sign if they came in and continued to buy these things if they did nothing. Now you run the risk of missing out on upside, obviously, but if you're not crazy about this name yet, that's something to wait for. You know what I mean? If you're not excited about energy names, or this PE in general is not something that really gets you giddy to play right now, there's other stuff you like better. It's not a total waste. You wait and you see how the flow, and especially if they get aggressive and come in again, because that would be a strong sign. Some of the biggest winners, that's what they do with it. All right. I want to mention before I get to your stocks, and I know you probably going to ask me about this. Some of you are. This right here was the epitome of wise guy sweepers. Okay. By the end of the day, the action was trading 50 times normal volume. All right. But I even showed it on Twitter, and a lot of you guys seen. They started sweeping this name in 200 to 400 lots. 200 to 400. So I'm talking $20,000 bets, which anybody looking at unusual activity would brush aside. Okay. But because they were wise guy sweepers, obviously they get my attention. They get my attention early. And before you knew it, in 200 to 400 lots, this thing had north of 9,000 calls bought up. 9,000. Okay, I think they were, what were they, June 25s or something like that? So that's where the flow, okay, provides the biggest edge. It got our eyeballs looking at this name before anybody knew what was going on. And before you knew it, okay, when everybody's eyeballs are finally on the name, they started buying the calls at 40, 45 cents. A lot of people in the room, I think, paid up and ended up getting 50 cents. They traded over $1 on Friday. So it doesn't happen all the time where you're going to get a double. I mean, a double's a double. I know in the option world, 100%, some new traders don't even act like that's nothing. But, I mean, you would have never had access to know what's going on without paying attention to wise guy activity, right? If I'm not looking at the flow, I don't know that they're coming in aggressively buying very sneaky action until it's too late, or until I got to pay up 50% for those calls if I'm trading call side. For me, I traded the equity, and the equity was a great hit for me for what I look for. I'm trying to go back here. Why can't I go back to show you guys? Is this it? Yeah, here it is. So this was the action. And this is what it did to it throughout the course of the day. And then you probably heard Nigerian talk about it. And by that time, to be honest, I sold into that small Nigerian pump as far as the equity is concerned. But this was exactly what we look for on an ongoing basis, day in, day out. Now, this is the strongest type of flow. Okay, so it doesn't come around constantly, obviously. Anything good doesn't come around constantly. So, you're waiting throughout the day, and depending on the style you trade, you're looking for what type of action may suit your needs. Like I said, if you're using it and incorporating it into something you're doing on your own and have confidence in, you may look at an NVIDIA call sweeper as an actionable trade where, for me, it means nothing. But that PPC activity is something everybody can look to take advantage of. If you're a trader in this market, anybody can take advantage of. The GIMO, everybody should be able to take advantage of. JD, Visa, all these names, everybody should take advantage of it. But aside from that, there's, flow throughout the course of the trading session that could be very valuable, even for just sentiment purposes alone. Give you an idea of, how, if there's momentum in the market. Like, for me, for example, okay, I mean, the market's come a long way, all right? They squeezed every short imaginable off that French election. And as you saw, when we got news of the French election, the market couldn't even go up anymore because everything just squeezed to death here. But Friday was a day, you could see the board was all green here, all right? Now, if you're looking at just the indices, you see nothing, you see a blah day, right? You're thinking there's nothing going on. It's just a choppy expiration Friday. But meanwhile, underneath the hood, there was some legitimate action in selective names that really was outperforming the market. Another one's this Qualcomm. I didn't trade it either. This thing caught, I think, a $500,000 sweep early in the day. Where is it? I could find it here. I might have gone too far back. But so you understand what I'm saying? Like, it does a lot of things even for sentiment reasons. But this Qualcomm caught a sweep early, caught a sweep late. I think there was news of a 13F filing after the close. A CRM. CRM was another one. Let me pull up the action in CRM. I know a lot of you guys like that name, and they have earnings coming. Here's the activity in CRM, the most recent activity. CRM has been on the quiet side. This is a Wise Guy favorite. Wise Guys love this name. Okay, this is just the most recent. If I go back to December, you won't believe your eyes the type of buying that came in. But this is back to, the end of March here. All right, and this is the activity that came in on Friday. I traded CRM. Don't even talk to me about that because I sold that way too early. It bothered me throughout the day. But they came in, and look, at 10 o'clock in the morning on this CRM, and it looked nothing like, let me pull up this chart. It's a lot easier to see. Bear with me. It looked nothing like the overall market, is my point. And for me personally, without the flow, there's no way, again, maybe you guys have, but there's no way for me to know that or know about that. All right, so CRM, 10 o'clock. You can see instant reaction in the stock. And it wasn't just one order. They came in a couple times. Here's the activity coming in. Here's a tradable move. That's where I got out. Had a little dip. I thought I was king, and then went on to ramp another buck. All right, so CRM looks nothing like the overall market on Friday, and I think they got some news. If I'm not mistaken, I thought I heard it. Somebody up there positioned it. But this is the most recent activity in CRM. If you guys are interested in taking a peek. For the most part, it was June calls Friday. These expire? No, next week. When is this? This is next week. This is down at 87.48. So this they got cheaper. You can see this came in at a little under $82. This came in around 84 and change, and now they're adding to June's. You got some 87 and 88s. All right, so that's a lot of what I've been seeing, especially late in the week. Let me get to a couple of your names. Let me see GSAT. I know I got a couple questions on that. There was some algo sweepers in this cheap little guy. Pre-Hulk, they actually caught this. We couldn't catch it. Way too quick. And then what was a good sign for this thing came down, some profit taking off that pop, and they just bought this right up again. They just bought it right up. And it had a nice run. I think faded late in the day. But there was heavy activity in this GSAT. Yeah, you can see faded late in the day. There was also news. I think they put the company up for sale or something. All right, let me get to some of your questions now. I've been rambling enough. But, I try as much as possible, guys, just to get the point across that it's not some crystal ball that's going to spit out tickers and give you entries and exits. There's no such thing as that. And even if there was something we could orchestrate around the flow to do that, it would be really a total waste. It really would. Believe me. I know everybody's looking for that. And the reason being is you're still going to pick or have to pick and choose which trades to take. What good is that? So you're relying on luck anyway, right? I mean, I can post entries for 4 names. 3 of them could be winners. The one name you took is a loser, and what good is it? So it's so much more valuable when you learn to use it and for how it suits you best. All right, so we got a couple questions. FINL. That's been a name. That's a retailer that they've been after for quite a bit. Here you go. Let's pull up FINL. FINL. Now, retail got smashed late in the week, as you guys know. Most of them, anyhow. But here's been the flow in FINL. I mentioned the only thing initially, where did the sweepers, that's back, yeah, so they really come after, you can see in the 14s, 13, 14, they bought that dip aggressively. That's April 3rd. That was right into this, was the initial buy. They were underwater at first, and then, they bought this whole move here. There was a recent buyer in FINL, I think Thursday or Friday, here. May close, but small bet. So basically, my opinion on FINL, you have the right idea there, okay? If you don't want to chase this move up here, okay? That's the last thing you want to do when they started to buy here. So now you're getting this pullback. I would wait for them to get aggressive again. Me personally, that's what I would do. For this to be a candidate for trade. Now, if you're looking at something on your end, as I keep mentioning, that you like this level or it's getting close to a level, and there's just one wise guy sweeper that comes in, you can use that as confirmation. But me, I'm talking just based off the flow. All right, so perfect. You got the pullback here. That's what you wanted. Now I just want to see that aggressive nature again. Not just one small order. I want them to come in and sweep like they were initially, and that tells me they're still bullish on this thing. So that's what I would be looking for there in that FINL. What do we got? Hang on. All right. Yeah, Snap, Ray. Here's the story with Snap. Snap was a crazy name. Snap went from core sweeper activity right here almost every day, I kid you not, And then at the tail end here, started to catch earnings flow. Right before earnings, obviously. And what I mean by that, the flow got really messy. There was still a little bit of call buying, but they were throwing in some size put blocks in there. You can see here. All right, you can see on 5.9, I mean, you got $1 million put sweeper there. You know, so right there, that tells you now the flow was starting to change. That was pre-earnings, though. You know what I mean? That was right here. So now we're looking post-earnings. We had some put sellers here. We had some put sellers here. And there was some call sweeper activity. That's what got me to make a play on it for a day trade. But again, similar to the other stuff I was saying, I wouldn't chase green here. You know, I would look for them to try to sell it off again and look for those put sellers to come back in, or look for some call sweeper activity to come back in. I think the put selling action puts in a nice floor for now. I would want to see buying come into weakness for me to trade from here. Okay, so in other words, if you made a play prior to this move higher off the put selling and some of the call buying, that's fine. I just wouldn't chase any green. I would wait to see how the action looks into weakness. But again, into weakness, that's the main thing. I just wouldn't chase green. I wouldn't chase green. All right, Alaric has a question about buying weakness. I was wondering about how the playbook will change when we reach a bear market. In options, will the idea be to get involved in puts? And I mean, that's a great question. And Alaric, honestly, unless we get into a full-fledged bear market, okay, I'm not talking about a correction. I'm talking about a full-fledged bear market. You don't need to necessarily worry about that. Now, you can trade off put activity, but you have to be quicker. As any short side player will tell you, you need to be quick, okay, even if we're in a correction and you're playing off put buying. And the same thing, you can't necessarily short in the hole. You can't come in and short a stock into weakness down 2 and expect to get a nice winner out of it. You can get lucky, but chances are there's a squeeze coming around the corner that you won't be able to handle. All right, so you could have traded off put buying back in, like, I remember, what was that, January of 2016? That right before the Bazooka Joe lows. So that was December 2015 into early 2016. Okay, that was the last time, I kid you not, that it was worth maybe looking at some puts back here, if you guys could see. See this here? But even that was pretty quick, Alaric, you know? It was quick. But that's where the flow was really bearish for quite a bit here. And then all of a sudden, you know, that's what we refer to as the Bazooka Joe low. That's where call buying came out of nowhere and just timed this thing perfectly. But that's what happened back here with the flow. Call buying dried up. There wasn't much call buying at all, and there was aggressive put buying. That started in like December. I remember everybody was hoping for the Santa rally, and the flow was just a mess. But here's why, unless we get into that extreme type of bear market that I don't like to play the short side, is because I'd rather just wait for my setup. Even as a swing trader, I'd rather wait for the setup on the long side. When you're playing the short side, not only is it tough to make money, but you'll make some money. You'll have some decent trades, okay? And as long as you have a stop in to protect you from getting smashed, you know, you can manage, you can survive. But what bothered me more is I would miss, as a swing trader, that sweet spot opportunity on the long side. You know, I would have missed the Bazooka Joe lows. As a matter of fact, quick story, I'll tell you. We were in the other chat room, okay, but I was in a chat room at the time, and there were members. Some maybe weren't too familiar with Wise Guy activity and the flow and all that stuff. But I don't even want to use that excuse because most people were. They were having success on the short side, obviously. Okay, they were making money on the short side. Make a long story short, all of a sudden, call sweeper activity comes into SPY, IWM, Apple, Facebook in the millions, out of nowhere. Okay, and we all remember that day. There was heavy selling. Okay, heavy selling. Oil was getting demolished. And then we saw that buying come in. There was some OPEC rumor. People thought the OPEC rumor was bullshit. So people continue to short. Okay, we're continuing to short into weakness, even though the flow had flipped aggressively. Because they had that bias. They had short positions. They were making a little bit of money. They didn't want to believe that the call buying might signal a turn. You listen to the noise, you hear OPEC rumors nonsense. So that bias will get you in trouble. Now, if you were waiting for that opportunity, for that call buying to come in, you're ready to fire now. You can take advantage on the long side. If you're short and you have that bias, not only do you have to cover those shorts, now you're going to flip that bias to the long side and get long. That's easier said than done. That's almost impossible to do. Right? You're having some success on the short side. Now you're short into this weakness at the lows here. And remember, everybody was calling for a breakdown because we were testing the lows. And literally, right there, they just fired cannons on the call side. Cannons stuck out like a sore thumb. And then they kept coming and they kept coming. And believe it or not, the market was still drifting lower. There wasn't a huge squeeze or anything like that. So the market was still like bleeding out. And that too had an influence on why people didn't want to believe the call buying was a sign. And then all of a sudden we squeezed that afternoon hard and we never looked back, and the flow has never been the same since. Nothing but bullish flow, the whole trip up. So you can understand, and if you're not familiar with it, I'm telling you from experience, if you are on the short side, especially if you're finding success, for you to get out of that mode and cover your positions or puts, whatever they may be, and not only that, now focus on the long side, it's a very difficult thing to do. So what I recommend to traders, forget the short side. Okay? If the market is not offering any long setups, if the flow looks like crap, if price looks like garbage, sit there. Cash is a position. Sit there and wait. And that's where the flow keeps me disciplined too. Without the flow, I'd probably be out there like a cowboy, God knows doing what, because I'm a degenerate. But when there's no call sweeper activity that I'm impressed with, I'm not saying, oh, you know what, I'm going to trade Netflix because I think it's up 2 and it can go up another 2. I don't do those things anymore. So the flow keeps me disciplined. And I think that's how you could keep yourself disciplined. Forget about the shorts. You don't have to take advantage of every little opportunity the market may offer. The short side is difficult. We know the market goes up a hell of a lot more than it goes down. We know you can count on 3 fingers people who are successful just trading on the short side. So why even bother? The market looks shitty. Sit, wait. Wait for the spot to come around, that high confidence spot where you can make some money. If that makes sense. All right, what else did I get to stock-wise? KR. Brett, KR is an interesting name. I'll tell you one thing. For me, I don't like names that have known Catalyst. I know that sounds crazy. I know that sounds like something you hear the opposite out of people's mouths. But if there's a known public Catalyst out there, that means there's so many eyeballs on it. Okay? Twitter's going to get bought out from Salesforce. Come on, everybody. Buy some Twitter calls. Let's all get rich. All right. KR has been a buyout target, and any little call buying that comes in, people think buyout. So for a trade, maybe, you know what I mean? But something tells me if you're interested in KR activity, most likely it's because of that buyout lotto ticket there. And I think it's that. Can it happen? Of course, anything can happen. But look at it as a lotto is how I would play that. Another one was Kate. Remember Kate? Remember the buyout everybody was waiting for in Kate? Oh, there's 4 or 5 companies bidding for Kate, and it just sat up here. Very rarely does it happen when everybody is talking about the same thing. I like when there's no catalyst out there. Okay? ILG. All that buying that came in, we didn't even know what the hell they do. They do timeshares. We didn't even know what they do. Nobody was talking about an ILG buyout. We never even heard the symbol. We had no idea why call sweepers were buying this thing with 3 hands every day. Unilever. I remember when the sneaky call sweepers came into this, we had people in the room saying, there's no way Unilever's getting bought out, so forget that. Nobody knew why they were buying, sneaking into Unilever calls. So those big public names that everyone talks about as far as targets, the Mattels, all those names, I have no interest in them as far as flow is concerned. Just, again, maybe a trade. If it comes into weakness, you think it can rebound, that type of thing, maybe. Joe's got his whole portfolio here. What do you got here? MOPM catches very little wise guy activity, Joe. Once in a blue moon, I'll catch some small sweepers, but not much. J&J, a rare name. IBM has had put action. GE, I would never trade that name. It catches flow, but I would never trade that name. It has active flow. Verizon, there's been some buying. But another name that will catch a decent amount of flow, Joe, Verizon. On both sides. But there was actually some call buying, nothing too crazy, but some call buying into the recent weakness. Go Stros. All right, go Stros. They got rained out today with the Yanks, by the way. Fibonacci is the name. Jesus, how long will option flow give us actionable trades for years to come? Yeah, unless they change the rules of the game, I don't see, its options has gotten bigger and more popular as my career has gone on, and like I said, guys, I'm not even an options guy. I'm an equities guy. I've traded equity throughout my whole career. I just found it fascinating that, it's almost like watching the tape. I can watch the flow, look at the flow, and, see patterns of buying happening right in front of my eyes. And now I've gotten to the point, obviously, with experience, that there's a particular type of activity, a certain type of order flow that may look strange to me, or may look, I use the word sharp, where you'll see, not all of them, but you will see, a couple weeks later, guys like Tepper or Rycon up their stake, or Elliott Management. Elliott Management, by the way, is in every aggressive sweeper name that we see. Elliott is in every single one. the most recent, that Gmo. You had that ARNC, which was another one they gobbled up. So, I always found it fascinating that Options Flow offered that. Like, for example, prior to looking at Options Flow, I would look at insider buying, and that was delayed. Or you look at these 13F filings or 13Ds, that's old news in a sense. The flow, once you focus on the right things, it's almost like you're getting that in real time. Okay, you don't know for sure, but again, this game is about probability and odds. And if there's a higher probability that a Sharpie is building a position in the name, you want to get in the middle of that. Doesn't mean every single one will explode or you will sell for a profit. But, logically, you should find some profitability off it, some consistency off it. So, I don't see anything in the foreseeable future, Fibonacci, that will change that. If anything, more and more now, you see players focused on options. And that's even more music to my ears, because on the flip side, guys, I hate to say it because, I guess we're all considered in the retail crowd. So many traders wet behind the ears have gotten involved in the option game, which can really give you a nice read on sentiment. When the retail crowd is getting busy on the put side, you know what's going to happen. It's only a matter of time, but you know what's going to happen. Can you picture every retail trader who has no clue of what he's doing in the option game making money on the put side? So I think the popularity of the option game has added a lot of value to that. And I've been focused more on that, and incorporating the two. Wise guy activity and keeping an eye on what the retail crowd's doing, only at extremes, though. That information is valuable. The in-between pretty much is useless. What else we got? Netflix. Netflix, we've seen some September activity, small September sweepers in Netflix. They started off a couple days ago. I think it was around these levels. Was it here? I think so. It was about a week ago. Last week, September 160 and 165s. And then we saw at the end of the week, September 170s. So they're the small momentum type sweepers, but that's the most recent action in Netflix. Here's my favorite buyer, wise guy buyer in Netflix was, I don't need a dollar sign. I'll show you this. Where is it? August, right here. You see this? 419. August 145. Call buyer. When the stock was 142, $1.5 million bet. That was mid-April when I was telling you guys this thing happened. This little 2-day sell-off happened. So, again, you see retail talking, buying puts in Netflix. You see negative news everybody's talking about out there. And then all of a sudden, this guy comes in and makes a $1.5 million bet on Netflix August calls. Yeah, there was some further weakness. Like I said, the selling continued off that news, but pretty much marked the bottom, and she hasn't looked back since. That's the stuff I like. Like I said, the Netflix buyers up here, they don't excite me. That's where I think we have the biggest edge. I sound like a broken record. That divergence, of what price, what the retail crowd is doing, and what the wise guys are doing. When they're taking the other side of what price is showing us and what sentiment is, that's the signal. So not that any of the other stuff isn't, it's just not as strong. You know, Netflix call buying up here. You know, we're seeing momentum type sweepers. What does it tell us? The momentum is strong in Netflix? Thanks. We kind of know that, no? We kind of know that. You know, it doesn't really tell us how long that momentum might last. You know, over the short term, the momentum will continue. The momentum's bullish in Netflix currently. You know, what edge is that? Unless you're a day trader, there's not a huge edge in that. So, yeah, that's why I get excited about the other stuff. Yeah, GMO was fire that day. It really was. Fibonacci, that GMO was just, I mean, basically, it was picture perfect. You know, it was just picture perfect. You wish they all could line up this perfect. You need a lot of patience to wait for that type of setup if you only want to play that. But you're going to touch a lot of winners if you touch that type of action. And what I mean by that is, off again, here's what I just told you. Off earnings, stock sold off. So price is weak. Sentiment is obviously weak. They came in and aggressively opened up the largest position of open interest. I mean, that says a lot right there, doesn't it? And the day after that, they sold puts to open. And the day after that, they bought more calls. And the day after that, Elliott announces a position. So, yeah, I wish they could all be that solid. The problem is we lack the discipline in waiting for just that. If you wait for just those setups, you're going to make a lot of money. But it's easier said than done when you look at this stuff all day long. Xavier is saying, might sound like a dumb newbie question, but what's the difference between equities and options? Well, basically, there's a big difference. Options are tough, Xavier. Options, you're buying contracts. You're not buying the actual stock, okay? So not only do you have to get correct whether the stock will appreciate in value, you pretty much have to, you're betting on when. You're picking the time when that will get to that level. The more time it takes to do that, your contract depreciates in value. So my best advice to you, Xavier, if you trade stocks, do not touch options until you learn a lot about them. You're not missing anything. You'll hear people talking about 2,300%, blah, blah, blah. Trust me, you're not missing anything. Get used to them. Take your time before you even start pushing buttons there, because they're straight up gambling. That's what they are, let's be honest. What else? Did I miss anybody? PSX. Ani, what's that PSX? What does that sound familiar? That's a Buffett name? Is that the Phillips? Yeah. I haven't seen flow in this name. But I've basically recent flow, I'm saying. There's been activity in this name in the past. Usually we'll catch size when it does catch it. But I haven't seen anything notable off the top of my head. But you could definitely keep an eye out, because this name does catch activity from time to time. Definitely does. George is saying PANW. We've seen some lotto fever in PANW on Friday. There was some, what was it? Actually, there were 120 calls. Let me see if I can get this up. Oh. But they were, I think they were May 120s, if I'm not, I hit the wrong thing. May 120s. Oh, I'm sorry. May 122 call sweepers when the stock was 115.66. That was Friday, though. Is this Friday? Yeah. Yeah. And then I think it caught this cyber news or something. But there was some small sweeper action in the 122s of May pre this run up here. But nothing, George, that I would hang my hat on other outside of a day trade, I wouldn't get too frisky there. NKTR, is that biotech? There's been some solid action in this thing. I hate biotechs, okay? A lot of you know that. But if you're playing the calls anyway, and you understand whatever you're putting in, you're going to probably lose, that's the most you can lose, then it's okay. I saw some really sharp action in this NKTR. That's why I know the symbol. And they were underwater initially. That was protection, small bit. Here, 411, August 22 calls. August 22 calls. So there's still some decent time left. And it was into this little consolidation here. So George, this is a name, unlike the PANW, this name caught legitimate action out in August. All right, so I just wanted to share that with you. I know this NKTR. Caught a couple bets. That was the big one, though. Who did I miss? Let me see. Did I miss anybody? Yeah, that UN was a nice one. Baba, Jordan, that's one of those names. I don't know what to tell you with this Baba. Here's what I can show you with the Baba. Okay? You see all this? Now, I mean, what are we going to do with all this? What can I tell you about Baba? You know, the flow's been there, and some of the action hasn't even shown up on the board, the smaller sweepers. There's action every day in Baba, call buying. Every single day. Okay, now, if this thing was going sideways or weak, I would say Baba is a strong play based off the flow. But, I mean, this thing is a cash register. And you have earnings. So a lot of it is already getting factored in that they may possibly report something decent this quarter. CMG, I didn't, Sam. CMG rarely catches activity. Once in a blue moon, you get a small sweeper, but that's once in a blue moon. Once I saw some put selling in it, but CMG does not catch a lot of wise guy flow. I know a lot of you like to trade the name. Unfortunately, very, very rare that CMG catches any flow, Sam. I wish it did, because a lot of people like to trade it. Ron, Facebook and HD, yes, that's two very interesting names. Okay, let's start with the Facebook. I have and am still waiting for the first legitimate group of call sweepers to come into Facebook in this consolidation. Now, I like Facebook. Why do I like Facebook? Just because it's consolidating here. So if there's sweeper activity that comes in, you have an entry, right? You don't have to worry that the stock has been up 5 straight days. You don't have to wait for some selling. You have some consolidation here. Now, you know, it's nothing much, but there is some consolidation. Facebook flow has been dry. The only thing that we saw in Facebook was a weekly buyer, expired last week, into weakness, and then he got the pop. Who knows, you know, he could have flipped them, but they're expired anyhow now. So my point being, the reason why I'm telling you that, it was a solid, quick trade in Facebook off that weekly player. But there hasn't been an aggressive sweeper in Facebook in quite a while. There's some size blocks, they're rolling out, stuff that they purchased here, but it's been pretty quiet on the sweeper side. So the first legitimate batch of sweepers that Facebook catches into this consolidation, you know, the setup is there. The setup is there. So that's what we're on lookout for. And the reason why I say that, Facebook is a name that catches Apple type flow. You know, Apple catches 10 sweeps a day. You know, Facebook has been seeing a block here and there. You know what I mean? Hasn't had that aggressive buying come in. That could come in any minute. Could come in any minute. So that's what we're on lookout there. Home Depot, a ton of buying. A lot of players, a lot of traders were hoping for a grind higher before earnings to get a trade out of it. This downgrade threw a monkey wrench into that because it was on its way for a decent trade pre-earnings. But now you're going to have earnings coming up. So we'll see what happens there, you know. But somebody came out and downgraded it on this day and really threw this nice grind into, well, threw an obstacle at it. Still can catch some heat, you know. So they were buying here. Here's what happened in Facebook, okay? In Home Depot, I'm sorry. Home Depot right here caught a monster call spread. I'm talking about a monstrosity of a call spread in Home Depot, right here. Had this ramp, okay? And into this consolidation, huge August and September call buy. Some even further out, but mostly August, September. So that was the thing I was telling you with earnings. You know, the most you can do is you look for an entry here, preferably even into weakness on a red day. Okay, there were a couple of them. And you look for a trade. I mean, some people could even trade at this, and then you leave a runner into earnings. If the earnings are good, you make some money on the runner. If the earnings are bad, you're going to lose the runner. But if there's action that comes in to the weakness, that will set up another entry. But yeah, I wouldn't advise holding full position into earnings. Anything can happen. You know what I mean? Anything can happen. What else we got? Paragon saying, if a stock is now at 25 and wise guys buy 27 strikes 3 months out, are they looking to seal at 27 or are they looking at a lot more upside? Honestly, P, I don't know. You know, there's no way of knowing that. Unless you know the player personally, it's a judgment call, right? And the truth of the matter is, I don't know the intent on any of the order flow. I'm not going to lie to you and tell you I do. But that's why I say the stronger the flow in a name, the higher the probability that that player is making a serious directional bet. Make sense? Okay, so in other words, like I said, the JD, okay, catches one bet. You know what? Look here. I'll show you perfect. Let's say this name, IAC, okay? Because it's easier to show. Doesn't catch too much flow, obviously, and I'll show you what happened there. All right, maybe this can answer your question. IAC, you had, you know, this is last year, so you got to start here, 330. Okay, this was the first bet that got our attention in IAC. A player came in, sweeper, almost $500,000, swept the May 75 calls. Okay, May 75 calls, the stock was 74 and a quarter. That's on 3/30, March 30th. All right, so that's right here. Let me blow this up so you can see it. And this is what that search function, you know, can help out a lot with. So right here, that's where it caught that bet. Okay, so now one bet could mean anything, right? As much as I like that sweeper, it's one order. I really don't know what that dude's doing. Maybe he's got a monster short that he's hedging. Possible, right? Whatever. But now he comes the next day into weakness. Okay, you can see here, look. The bar doesn't do it justice. There was a pullback the very next day. Look at that pullback, okay? And he comes into the weakness, and what's he do? Mind you, this was a $500,000 sweep, okay? One of them. He comes in and throws 3 grenades at it. $500,000 sweep, $500,000 sweep, $600,000 sweep. So what does that tell you right there? Yeah, logically, what does it tell you? He hit it here once. There was weakness, and he acted like he saw Santa Claus. Triple the amount. So now the odds, you hear me use that term a lot, but it's the truth. The odds, the probability of that player actually making a confident bet go up dramatically. Even though we still don't know for sure, they go up dramatically with that type of a pattern of buying. All right, and then the cherry on top, although this was later on at higher prices. So he ended up, the degenerate, even paying up for some more on 425. But by that point, the stock already reacted. All right, so he came in the next day and hit it for triple. That's the point I'm trying to make. All right, so you had this pop here, tradable pop, blah, 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 then the stock starts going higher, he hit it again, and, it exploded. So, that, again, when it comes to the flow, that's the strongest signal right there. That's where the odds, the probability of the bet being a bet are in your favor. Now, you could still make money day trading, short-term trading off that first IAC sweeper. Okay, you can. If it came into weakness, you can flip green the next day or the next 2 days. But I'm just showing you, to answer your question, P, that's the only way I get a best guess of what these players are doing, by their pattern of buying. Otherwise, I really don't know. If I did, that'd be terrific, but I don't. This ILG, same exact thing. They buy it, they come in, they buy it again, they come in, they buy it again, and the ILG wasn't doing much. I don't know, most of you were in, who weren't part of the Steam Room, that Friday where we had the open house. This was the only call sweeper that I even had an interest in. I actually even day traded it that day. That's how bad of flow that day was. But, the stock wasn't even really doing too much. Drifting. But what does this show you here? This shows you that somebody, something out there really wants this thing. It's not a fluke. Most likely it's not a hedge. Somebody's gobbling up, accumulating this thing for a reason. We don't care about the reason. I'm not trying to figure out the reason. I just want to get in the middle of that. Okay, news is irrelevant. The bet being right, in my opinion, is irrelevant. You could still make money without even worrying about the actual bet that took place. All right? You don't have to be an options player to take advantage of that. As a matter of fact, I know more equity guys that I've worked with that use the flow, and again, are in the Steam Room, just not as vocal as I would like them to be, but they don't trade options. They're trading the equity. So, I try to get away as much as possible of, well, why is that player doing it? Is he looking for $40? Is he looking for this? Maybe he's making a play on this. Sometimes we talk about it just to pass time, but it really doesn't matter. You see the aggressive buying, it meets what you're looking for, you put on, you find your entry, you get in, and now that trade goes according to your plan now. Your plan. Yeah, if they continue to buy, okay, That could mean more momentum into the name. Maybe you want to tinker with your plan, raise stops, or do whatever the case may be instead of selling right away. But you want to rely on the order after you buy it as little as possible. You know, it was just offered up confirmation of entry into the name that somebody who knows a lot more than us is aggressively buying this thing. If that makes sense, B. You know, and you know, I get that question a lot. It's not the answer a lot of people want to hear, but it's the truth. You know, I'm not going to lie to you and tell you I can read these guys' minds. You know, it's based off just a pattern of buying. You know, and it makes sense. I joke around, but it's the truth. We all have that degenerate blood in us. If we really feel confident about something, and I'm not talking about, you know, we like a chart or something. If you really know, okay, that something is going to take off, how are you buying that thing? You know, if you could, you would sweep multiple exchanges to get fills. If the stock ticked down, you definitely don't own enough. You'd probably buy more. And then after that, you probably feel like you don't own enough and the stock's starting to push higher. So what do? You ante up and pay up. So that's what I look for, that pattern of buying. And, you know, that's the strongest type of flow. What else we got? Yeah, MU, you know, MU, again. Oh, MU. You know, MU, by the way, we found out who obviously was doing that 22-line sweep, those missiles. That was Tepper. That was Tepper's gang. Kept hitting up the same lines, just different month. The in the money 22 calls. Now, who's doing that? You think some retail traders buying deep in the money calls, laying all that wood, and sweeping multiple exchanges to get filled constantly? You know, but again, MU now, it's, you know, for me, it's gone. MU now is a trade on weakness, catches some flow into weakness, you get that quick trade out of it. That's all. I mean, beyond that, there's not much I could tell you guys on the Micron, because you just can't keep buying a name all the way up and expect the same type of returns. You can't do it. You know what I mean? The MU, the sweeper activity in this consolidation can't be as strong as a signal as the call buying that's coming up here. It just can't. You can't weigh them equally. So, yeah, that's what I try to tell people, is that you get a little pullback like this and you see them, you know, you see a couple call sweepers come into it. You want to trade this? That's fine. You know, trade it, raise a stop, roll up, roll out, whatever strategy you use. But I wouldn't try to buy Micron at any point on this chart and expect it just to go higher, because they're still call buying in it. You know, you wanna try to find where the call sweeper activity starts to heat up after a dry period of consolidation, or, you know. Now, Micron has had a little consolidation, but they've been buying the living daylights out of it. The call buying never dried up in Micron. They buy it all over the place. Up, down, sideways, crooked. They continue to buy it. They continue to buy it. You know, as they were doing here. The only difference is, you know, this was out of consolidation. You know, this is out of, I guess you can call this consolidation, but the flow never dried up at all. Audio you lost? Did you lose audio or no? I think it's going to be on the YouTube channel, the St. Lucci YouTube channel. Let me get to a couple more, and I'll let you guys run. Hig caught action, was weak. Let's see, Hig. HIG caught recent action. HIG and AIG. AIG first, then HIG. Let's see. Here's the day in HIG. Only thing I would mention about HIG, I day traded the thing. That's how I know it. Otherwise, I would have forgot. What happened was it caught, see this buying here? HIG? I think it was this block here was stock replacement tied to stock. If you own it already, I would just, trade it as a trade. If it's a loser, it's a loser. If it's a winner, if it's a winner. If you didn't buy it yet, normally I would say, it's come in a bit. You can look, but because some of the action was tied, I would wait and see if they come after it again. If they come after it again, and it's clean, I would like HIG a lot. So it would go from me not liking it as much to liking it a lot. That's the only thing. I know it sounds ridiculous. The only thing that bothers me about that HIG is that a block was tied. So I'm worried that the rest might be tied. You know what I'm saying? Otherwise, the activity was solid. Yeah, nothing huge. Wasn't huge. But if you see tack on buying come into HIG, Chuck, that's what I would focus on. But if you're in it already, and I don't know what you traded, if you're in the Junes, you know what I mean? It's just a trade. Some win, some lose. But the strongest signal would be if they come in and buy it like I showed you. Come in and buy it again. How come I didn't play VRX? Because the worst. That's why. No, I don't know. I mean, I'm not. These biotechs scare the daylights out of me. I'm not going to lie to you. What am I going to do? I'm going to own 10,000 shares of a VRX and have it halt and Ackman join the company again and the stock get killed? Biotechs scare me because I'm an equities player. That's why. The calls are a different story. That's the truth, Fib. I'm not going to make things up. The biotechs scare me. When I do trade biotechs, usually they're for a quick scalp. Try to get in and out pretty quickly. But yeah, VRX, the flow has, total different animal now. Total different animal. And we saw that with the July. That's what Fib is mentioning. VRX caught significant July activity, which looked a lot different than some of the flow it used to catch. It was real buying in VRX. Again, they were out to Julys. Usually they're weeklies and some lottos and stuff like that. Cheap premium stuff. The July buying was definitely legit. All right, what else? What other symbols did I forget before I let you guys go here? Not like I got anything to do. It's pouring out. I'm trying to stall time here. Who did I miss? Let me see. 12:30. Okay, War Robots is talking about Visa and MasterCard. I didn't day trade them, War, because Visa frustrates the living daylights out of me. It's a better swing trade than day trade. So that was the reason. But yeah, Visa caught legitimate activity. Caught legitimate activity. The only thing I would add there is that you got to keep in mind Visa initial activity was where? Down here. Okay, so this is coming at higher levels. Okay, that's the only thing I would add. So if Visa lines up with whatever it is you look at for a trade, then I'd say, okay, Visa looks good. MasterCard too. The only reason I'm not all gun-ho about it is because the initial activity came in here, and this is at higher levels now. All right. All right, guys. I'm going to let you guys go. All right, we'll do it again. You know where to find me anyhow. You have any questions. And again, I should see all of you guys And I know most of you are, who are here, from what I could see, the names I recognize are members, or at least members of the free room. I should at least see everybody in the free lounge, and we can talk shop all day long. I'm going to spend a lot more time in there, especially on weekends, post market. All right, so that you go to wallstreetjesus.com, click on, let me put this out so you guys have it, on market updates. There you go. Whoops. I don't even know how to do this. I'm so incompetent that, oh, there it is. All right, so we could talk some shop in there. And again, if you want to give the Steam Room a shot, we offer promotions to the Saturday Sweep Series. Okay, you could get the course, and you get the free month of the Steam Room, or you could get half off, I think, yeah, 50% off the first month. Also, if you're looking for something more affordable, or you're on the go constantly, we offer private Twitter. You scroll to the bottom of the wallstreetjesus.com page. Private Twitter is just the flow, basically. You're not getting the webinars and stuff like that. But that's $59.99 a month. All right, and like I said, that's basically the alerts, open interest in the morning, and none of the other commentary, obviously. All right, guys, but I appreciate you coming out. Have a great weekend. Happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there, and well, your moms. But again, any questions, you know where to find me, all right? Enjoy the weekend.